Ways to improve relationship communication. How to effectively communicate and deal with sensitive issues with your partner. Written by David L. Lewis. Narrated by Shawntay Fields. Chapter 1. Communication in Relationships. Relationships rely on communications to succeed. If just one person has bad communication skills, it can negatively affect the relationship drastically. Although people communicate with one another on a daily basis, most of us don't think about how we do it and what communication actually entails. We all have our own unique habits, and we likely communicate similarly on a day-to-day basis. If you have any predispositions about your own communication skills or your partner's, scrap that now and begin relearning. Communication skills play a crucial role in your romantic relationships. Without proper communication skills, you might as well flush your relationship down the toilet. How bad communication affects relationships. Bad communication is not always in the form of mean words being exchanged or voices being raised. In most cases, bad communication is a lack of communication. When certain things are not acknowledged or said, both people begin to assume things about one another, and conclusions will be drawn. In order to avoid having bad communication in relationships, over-communication should be used instead. By over-communicating your intentions and your thoughts, the receiving person begins to get an understanding of your style of communication and thought processes. The more they learn about what goes on in your head, the less they will misinterpret you. This is especially important at the beginning of relationships, as that's where the biggest learning curve is. This holds true not only for romantic relationships, but for professional, personal, and familial relationships as well. Just like how you probably have a strong understanding of the way your best friend thinks and communicates, you should know that you have a weak understanding of the way your new coworker thinks and feels, and vice versa. In order to avoid any misunderstandings and arguments, be sure to over-communicate to leave no room for misinterpretations. Once you and the other person have developed an understanding, the two of you can form your own style of communication that works for both parties. 4 types of communication. Everybody has the ability to use basic communication, and this ability is something that we were born with. But this does not mean that everybody can communicate with skill. This basic communication includes things like being able to speak, being able to recognize and tell someone what your basic needs are, like being hungry or having to go to the bathroom. Basic communication also includes being able to hear what another person is saying to you and understanding what it means. Verbal. The first type of communication that we will examine is that which is likely the first to come to mind when you hear the word communication. Verbal communication is the type that is used between people who use words and sounds. This is a type of communication we use when we are meeting someone for the first time or learning more about a person over coffee. This type of communication involves the language and dynamics of speech. Verbal communication is innate to humans, as we are all built to learn and use language to communicate with other humans. Nonverbal. Even if you speak a different language than someone else, you are still able to communicate with them. This is because of another type of communication called nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is a term that includes a wide variety of ways that people communicate things that they are thinking or feeling without using words. Humans are quite selective about what they choose to share with others, but sometimes the things they would rather hide becomes apparent through their displays of nonverbal communication. This type of physical, bodily communication can be either a conscious or unconscious action, meaning that we may not even know that we are sharing our thoughts, feelings, or opinions in ways other than through our words. Visual.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?